Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I chose to study the Scopes monkey trial, or better known as the state of Tennessee versus John Scopes. The short of it is that John Scopes was a substitute biology teacher in March of 1925, takes over biology class, and he happens that week he needs to teach the theory of evolution. So he teaches it as it's written in the book, unintentionally breaking the law known as the Butler Act. The Butler Act passed in 1925 precluded the teaching of any type of evolutionary theory. Again, as we all remember, it's right around the time that Darwinism starts coming out, really starts challenging the story of Genesis. Scopes decides to go ahead and teach the lesson plan as it is. He is arrested and he is arraigned, and there's a court date set. It takes place from about July 10th to the 21st, and it is a theatrical trial to say the least. So the three-time presidential candidate, William Bryan, is the prosecution. Clarence Darrow, I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong as I've been the whole week, is a very, very famous lawyer that the ACLU hires to protect Scopes, to protect his civil liberties. And the trial kicks off, and it doesn't exactly go the way that I think Scopes or the prosecution or the defense thought that it would go, and certainly not the judge. Instead of them attacking the issue at hand, which was, did Scopes break the law and did he violate the Butler Act, instead it becomes a he said, she said, Genesis versus evolution, mankind as the image of God versus us developing from apes, or whatever the theory was that was written in the book. On multiple times, the judge had to recuse certain statements that were made, either by the prosecution or the defense. At one point, the defense lead puts the prosecution lead, Bryan, on the stand and just berates him for an entire day. They get a huge argument about Genesis, and they keep going back and forth. And I wanted to really look at one thing specifically that Scopes said. So Scopes would define his understanding of evolution in an interview with the New York Times in 1925, stating that I believe that man and all animals ascended from the lower order, but I have never seen or read any scientific statement that man is descended from a monkey. That's a very key statement in the trial. Bryan would continue to go back and forth to that statement over and over again, questioning whether Scopes was a true Christian. Bryan, on multiple occasions throughout the week, attacked his form of Christianity, and it's a mess. That's the easiest way to say it. There's one thing that I really drew out of this, from this period of time we were talking about the fundamentalists and the moderates, is that just how separated things actually were. That in an attempt to discredit somebody's theories, they attempted to discredit the person and not the law that person may have broken. The long and the short of this is that Bryan basically loses, Scopes basically loses, and he is fined $100, which is about $1,800-ish today. The trial ends, and the Supreme Court of Tennessee ends up going back and basically saying that the trial wasn't necessarily fraudulent, but that it also wasn't conducted properly. So they create this, monumentous Christian versus evolution trial, and nothing really comes of it. Something that I learned about when I took biology was the Scopes trial, and I find it very interesting that today, even in 2025, more than 100 years have passed, and we're still talking about this same issue. I'd like to get your guys' opinion on it, and not necessarily the opinion of Genesis versus evolution, but more the opinion of, do you think that Scopes was kind of a throwaway client? Did this need to happen? Did this trial need to go through in the way that it did? Scopes acknowledged the fact that he broke the Butler Act. He never said that he didn't do that. But my question to you really resides in, do you think that it was necessary to have this publicized of a trial, or could they have just limited it to a small trial somewhere in Dayton, Tennessee that never would have gained national prominence? Thank you, and I look forward to your guys' answers.